All right, let's just jump right in. We're going to talk about a term you've probably seen everywhere, one that might make you feel, well, a little out of the loop. That term, brain rot. So just picture this for a second. You're a teacher. You ask a totally normal question, and the response you get sounds like it's from another planet. This isn't just a funny thought exercise. A student named Angel Galicia Mendoza wrote about this exact thing. Teachers are hearing references to Skibidi Toilet, these like super surreal YouTube videos, and they're just left completely baffled while all the students get the joke.
It really makes you wonder, right? What on earth is going on here? Is this really the end of talking like normal human beings? Or is there something bigger at play?
Okay, so the term at the center of all this confusion is brain rot. But here's the thing. What that word actually means, well, that totally depends on who you're talking to.
I mean, officially, Oxford even named it their word of the year for 2024. They define it as this like nonstop fire hose of just absurd, chaotic internet stuff. You know, the kind, memes, videos, things that are so weird and random, it feels like your brain is kind of melting. Hence, brain rot.
And this is where the split happens, and it is a big one. For Gen Z, brain rot is pretty much a joke. It's this self-aware way of talking about how chaotic and over-the-top everything feels. It's almost a way to cope. But then you look at how some adults see it, and whoa, they're talking about mental fogginess, cognitive decline. Some are even treating it like a real medical issue, the actual decay of language. So to really get what's happening, we have to look at the engine that's powering all of this. And believe it or not, that engine isn't just in the palm of our hands anymore. Nope, it's taken over the biggest screen in the living room. And the numbers here, well, they might actually surprise you. Okay, check this out. According to Nielsen, when you think about TV, what comes to mind? Probably broadcast networks, cable, maybe Netflix, right? Well, get this. As of May 2025, the single biggest player in all television viewing is YouTube. I'm not talking about watching on your phone. I'm talking about watching on your actual TV set. And it really boils down to this one incredible number, 12.5%. That's how much of all TV viewing time belongs to YouTube. That's more than Netflix. It's more than all of broadcast TV combined. We're talking about a massive, fundamental shift in how we watch stuff. And yeah, sure, mobile is still huge, of course it is, but look at this. A full half of all users are watching YouTube on their TV. That's way more than people watching on their computers. So that whole idea that YouTube is just for your phone, we can officially put that to bed. So the platform is huge, we get it. But that's only half the story. The real fuel for this cultural fire is how young people, especially Gen Z, are interacting with content. They're not just watching anymore. It all starts with this. Almost 9 out of 10 people in Gen Z say they're a fan of something. Being a fan isn't some nerdy, niche thing anymore. It's just who they are. But wait, it gets even more interesting. It's not enough to just be a fan. A whopping 65% of that same group also say they create video content. Think about that. The line between being a consumer and a creator it's completely blurred. So what you get is this whole new feedback loop, right? It starts with watching the original thing, but it immediately turns into participation. Fans are making reaction videos, they're doing these super deep analyses, explaining all the lore, and pretty soon there's so much fan-made content that people are spending more time with that than with the original thing. They're not just consuming culture, they're actively building it. Okay, so let's tie this all back to the language we started with. All that chaotic slang that sounds like nonsense, it's not just random noise. Once you see this participatory culture in action, you start to realize, oh, this is basically a whole new dialect. And brain rot isn't happening in a vacuum. It's just one piece of this huge, interconnected universe of fan culture. You've got user-created games in Roblox, you've got K-pop, you've got this whole made-up thing called the Italian brain rot universe. They're all part of the same big cultural tapestry. And let's be real, this isn't new. Every generation has had its own slang that freaked out the older folks. The beatniks had their own lingo, the skaters in the 80s had theirs. What we're seeing today is just the 2024 version of that. The only thing that's really changed is the speed. The internet just makes everything happen like a million times faster. But why is this slang so chaotic and weird? The student we heard from earlier, Angel Galicia Mendoza, just nails the explanation. It's not a sickness, it's a reflection. When you're living in a world that just feels completely overwhelming and irrational, this language becomes a way to deal with it. It's a way to turn the chaos into an inside joke, which makes it feel a little less scary. So, where does that leave the rest of us? The ones who are still feeling a bit lost? Well, it seems like it really comes down to a choice. We can either be afraid of it, or we can try to understand it. First things first, let's tackle the number one fear, that this slang is destroying language. It's just not. The same kids joking about brain rot with their friends are still writing perfectly good essays for school. This is an add-on language, not a replacement. It's all about knowing when and where to use it. It's code switching. And really, that's the key. If we can shift our perspective, if we stop looking at this as a problem that needs fixing and start seeing it as a cultural shift that needs understanding, the whole conversation changes. It takes us from fear to curiosity, and instead of trying to ban words, maybe we just ask, hey, what does that mean? And that could open up a way better conversation. So in the end, it leaves us with this one big question. And it's a question every generation has to answer for itself when the next one comes along with its new way of talking. Are we going to fight against how language is changing? Or are we going to try and embrace it?